Hey, so I've been working away on the project. Uh, I don't know. This is day 427. I don't know what day, how long I've been working on this. I don't even think of it in those terms. It's just a matter of when I have time. I try to work for a couple of hours if I can at any one given block of time. Sometimes it's a lot less than that. Sometimes it's a little more. Um, so this is the upper wing center section. This is the part that fares and blends into the fuselage here at the cradle. And it just fits in roughly like this. I mean, it has to be centered, obviously, and it has to be flat. So it's been infilled, and spackle's been applied once, one application of spackle and sanding to get it to this condition. Obviously, there's quite a bit more shaping and sanding yet to do. Leading edges outside of these marks have to be shaped to match the profile of a leading edge. But that won't be done until the outer wing, until the outer wing panels are attached. And then I may need to add small sections of balsa out here to get to the profile and get it to match the wing outer panel profile. So we'll just leave it rough for now out here on the leading edges where they're exposed. This part of the front end obviously is not radiused or shaped in any way. It's just made to conform with the fuselage here and to fit into the fuselage cradle. And so that's why I put the pencil marks where I did. This is why these pencil marks here exist at the front, right? And that's so we once we get the boards sistered up to the front here, this will still fit into the fuselage neatly. Okay. So this is our current state of affairs with the airplane. As you can see, the lower wing has been attached. Some filler applied to the wing roots. It had a minimal fillet at the lower wing joint to the fuselage. More than that, I'll just accomplish with paint at this point. It might be one more layer of spackle applied over that, and then it's sanded roughly to the same definition there. And then the wing root, as it appears on the prototype airplane, I'll just recreate with paint by masking and painting. Again, the lower wings surfaces are silver, as if they were doped in the silver dope, as was typical in the 30s. So silver dope on the lower wing on both sides, silver dope on the underside of the top wing, yellow on the upper side. And again, I'm calling it dope, but it's the appearance of that. It'll just be silver paint. Typically for these I use a color called German silver, and the reason for that, it's kind of a matte. It has a bit of a flake to it, but not overly done. It looks like silver doped fabric, if that makes sense. If you see the color when it's applied, you might notice that's a characteristic that it has. That's why I use that color. I'll need to get a few cans of it. I don't have any, but that's what I use. And then the fuselage proper itself will be a light gold gray, tail surface is black, yellow waistband, yellow wing stripes. Again, that'll be a much lighter canary yellow than the overall camel yellow that I'll use for the wing. And then we'll use the canary light yellow on the engine crankcase bell. And I'm thinking now the cowling will be white, as will the wheel fairings white. So it's just a rendition of this aircraft that I've seen done in plastic on the Williams Brothers 132 scale version of this airplane. That's the photographs of a finished, completed model. That model in those colors is what was appealing to me when I bought this kit. So that's the one I'll be replicating. All right, so this is our current status of the build. I am going to begin laying up the outer wing panels to go with the center section, As I'm doing those and laying them up and then infilling them, I'll be spackling and finishing, prepping this for paint. Once it's almost completely prepped for paint, I'll drop it in. At that point it should, as it does now, fit neatly and match the shape of the forward fuselage here and the forward cockpit there at the back. You can see that it fits nicely to the sides and top, and here rounded, and at the top flat. That those areas are a good fit, a perfect fit now, so we want to maintain those shapes even as we are cleaning up and sanding and filling the rest of the cradle of the the wing, upper wing center section. So we want to maintain these surfaces here and these shapes here at the back, that fit is smooth and flowing. The reason for that is I won't be able to use filler. I can at the front. I'll be able to use filler all around here, but over the paper around the cockpit combing, I can't really lay filler spackle onto this and then sand it off without possibly fraying or damaging the paper. So I have to just hope for the best here on this seam and just fit it as closely as I can and not worry about this edge. But clean this one up as best I can, and then obviously underneath here this will get a layer of spackle, and again this is going to get a fillet of spackle similar to what we have at the wing root, only probably a little bit broader than that. This is much more rounded here on the prototype aircraft. This is more of a scoop here than it is a hard edged angular joint. That's disappearing. Might also lay in just a strip of 1/16 square balsa strip stock on each side here, just to keep the filler itself from getting into there and creating a baby rattle situation where pieces of spackle go through a crack, harden, fall off, and then become a problem inside the airplane. So to prevent that, we like to seal these off. It'll be sealed with white glue anyway, but I may put just a strip of the 1/16 stock along there and sand it in, just to create a barrier, a dam, right? And then the white glue and then the filler over the top. That's how we typically do all our joints. That makes for a really permanent joint, a really substantial connection at wing roots. The tail here where we've done it, same thing. So you stick the part on, position it as best you can with the white glue, come back around the seam entirely with the super glue. Then when that's all cured and hardened, that's got your part in position, then you come back with the white glue overall wet finger and just slide the white glue in, create a nice seam with that, or seam filler with that, and then over the top of that with the spackle, and then sanding that off with a rolled up section of sandpaper, something rolled very tightly depending on the size and depth of that fillet. So something tight like this, a very small tight radius of sandpaper. If it's a broader fillet like on the P-40 or on some of the other aircraft, you'd use a much broader piece. Sometimes I'll wrap a section of dowel with sandpaper to get that shape, the correct shape that I want, and then sand that in. So that's what we'll be doing under here. And again, I have to be very careful towards the where the paper combing and where the cardstock is. I have to be relatively careful. Now, the sand and seal product does help protect the paper, your cardstock parts and components. I painted over the upper struts cardstock, and I painted over this with several, I think this has almost 5 coats of sand and seal on it. And that's just to do provide as much protection from the paper fraying under sandpaper as can be provided. So that's, but even with that, you have to be just as you would with even balsa there. You don't want to, as you're sanding this, as I'm sanding this, I don't want to create a rub out area here where I've created that indentation into this component. That's what we ultimately want to avoid doing, right? So here we are. I'll be working, as I said, I'll be working on the wing now, the upper wing, center section. I'm getting this infilled, not infilled, but spackled and sanded and prepped for paint, and then applied to the fuselage, faired in completely, and then we'll attach the outer wing panels using a spacer block on each side. I'll just cut those from heavy cardboard, or I'll use my foam. You can use. I buy a cheap foam board. This is like $3 worth of foam board, and we'll just cut supports out of that to get the wings cambered properly and get them get the dihedral properly set for when this is going to cure with the outer wing panels on it. But at that point, this will already be firmly attached to the airplane and faired in and prepped as equally ready for paint as the rest of the airplane is. Those outer wing panels go on when they are fully prepped and ready, and then once they're attached, I'll fair in and create the leading edge shaping and merge that to the outer wing panels properly. We'll set the outer wing cabane struts, not glue them, but set them, get them situated, pull them off, and then we'll do the painting of the aircraft as I outlined it. Right? So lots of work to do, but you can see we're getting close to my favorite stage of the build. I like all of it, but the finishing work for me and the actual laying on the colors, that's the most fun part of any project, I think. At least for me, that's my favorite part of it. So I do love infill, tedious as it is. I get a lot out of that meditatively, but practically and for the purposes of accomplishing a project, it's the finish work that either that completes it, that brings it all to all the work, brings all the work to the fruition that you're looking for, the completion you're looking for. So that's where we are. We're right here, right here on the project. That's where we are. This is where we are. You are here. How many more ways can I say that? I'm rambling. It's great. Okay, everybody have a great day. Thanks for viewing. Keep up the good work.